Hey, my name is Greg Summers. Wanted to see how fast I can show you how to get up and running with the FM3 with recording. I'm using Logic Pro. You can find your own DAW or digital audio workstation and use the FM3 to record and also reamp. If you don't know what reamping is, look it up. It's super cool, but you'll see it in action. All right, so I've got Logic running up here. I've got two DI tracks. This is going to be my direct signal that I'm going to reamp back into these tracks and then manipulate with the FM3 to dial in the tone that I want. I've got my DI left track and then my right. I'm going to record two tracks, both playing the same thing to double my guitar part. I've got a drum plugin called Superior Drummer. It's awesome. It's overkill for my needs, but it sounds awesome, and I use it with these drums back here as well. So in my DI, I've got it set to input 3. That is my direct signal from the FM3. And I'm going to record something really basic, just something to show some chunk, and then I'm going to record those tracks and pan them left and right like I always do with a lot of my guitars. All right, so I'm using my Fender Ultra Telecaster. That's running into the HPE model, the Friedman model, with an ML Sound Lab, the Freeman Cab Pack, which is their Friedman Cab Pack. All right, now I'm going to do the exact same thing. Going to double it on another DI, input 3. All right, not a really exciting part, but my timing was off, but a direct signal sounds pretty pathetic. Pretty rocking. But what we're going to do is we're going to feed that direct signal, which is what is hitting the input, just the input from the guitar into the input of the Axe Effects. And we're going to push it through, back through the USB. Then we're going to push it back through USB and trigger that into another track where I can loop that and manipulate the sound and dial in different amps. So it's really powerful for that kind of stuff. All right, some quick housekeeping that you got to do before you reamp. You need to make sure your DI tracks are routed out to outputs 3 and 4. And so that's what I've done here. If you look over and you look over to the left here, I've got the input doesn't matter at this point. Output 3 and 4, that is for reamping. So once you do that, then you're going to grab and put 2 more tracks in here. They're panned because I've already done this before. So you're going to put that, they're going to be input 1 like normal, and then stereo out like your normal stereo out, which for me is my monitors up here. So one thing you need to do, you want to make sure you go into the FM3 when you're ready to reamp, not until you're ready. Go into Setup, I/O, and that first tab is called Audio, and you want to go down to section A on the left, and it'll say Input 1 Source, and you want to change that to USB. It'll say Channels 3 and 4. So now we're ready to hear that reamped signal. And even if you didn't know what reamping was, now you get an idea of how cool it is. So now what's going to happen is, because I set this output to 3 and 4, it's going to go back into the FM3, out to the input here, input 1. And we're going to hear that signal. And then I can change amps, cabs, mess with drives, all that stuff, while I'm listening to the whole mix, which we only have drums. But if you had a whole mix, you'd have a lot of stuff going on, and you could just dial it in how you wanted to, which is really cool, instead of tracking something and then now you got to EQ the heck out of it, you know? Hear that direct track? That's just that clanky direct. Now it's coming back into this track 4 and the guitar left and hitting the FM3. Here's the cool part. We're going to loop this part, which it's going to get annoying for a moment, but I'm just going to bring up 1 amp to make this quick so you can hear me change it and hear the sound change. And then we're going to record back onto back into Logic, both tracks, pan them hard left and right so you can hear them chunk chunk. Here comes the loop. we're driving that pretty hard with that super overdrive. So you can see it wasn't a big difference, but it's a whole different amp into the same cabinet, but they do sound similar because that cabinet makes a huge difference. So now we're ready to print them to a track. In this case, I'm going to take both DIs, print them at the same time just to save time. So my last thought here is, if you're running through a session, think about recording a DI for each track, because even if you have just a bad sounding printed track, you have the DIs. You could ship those off to the producer. You could ship those off to some other studio and reamp through real amps. But of course, we have our Axe-Fx and FM3 and everything out there, Helix, all that stuff. And we have a plethora of amps that we can reamp through and really experiment. So just have fun with it. Make sure you read the manual. Make sure you understand reamping in general, and just go have some fun with it. If you've never recorded, maybe this might give you a little push to actually start recording and getting out some of that creativity during these quarantine days. So you guys have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.